The 1980s were a golden age for tractor innovation, machines that were tough, ahead of their time, and built to last. But while some brands became legends, others faded into the shadows. What if I told you that hidden in the dusty barns and forgotten fields are tractors from the 80s that were nothing short of brilliant? From advanced engineering to designs that still inspire today, these tractors deserve way more recognition than they ever got. Let's uncover the 10 forgotten tractors of the 1980s that could blow your mind. Number 1. Allis-Chalmers 8050. The Allis-Chalmers 8050 was one of the crown jewels of the company's 8000 series. Introduced at the beginning of the 1980s, when tractor manufacturers were fiercely competing to win over farmers who wanted bigger, more powerful, and more comfortable machines. This lineup was designed to stand toe-to-toe with giants like John Deere's 40 series and International Harvester's 50 series, and the 8050 held its own remarkably well. At the heart of the 8050 was a 7.0L turbocharged diesel engine that delivered roughly 186 horsepower, plenty of muscle for the time. This made it an excellent fit for medium to large-scale farms, where the demand for horsepower was growing due to larger implements and more demanding workloads. The tractor's power plant was renowned for both performance and reliability, giving farmers confidence during long days in the field. One of the standout features of the 8050 was its power director transmission, which provided smoother shifting and a more efficient transfer of power compared to many of its rivals. While competitors sometimes offered clunky or less refined transmissions, Allis-Chalmers engineers designed a system that allowed farmers to work without constant interruptions or frustrations. But Allis-Chalmers didn't stop at just raw performance. They paid special attention to operator comfort, something that was becoming increasingly important in the tractor industry during the 1980s. The cab of the 8050 was spacious, quiet, and thoughtfully laid out, with controls positioned for ease of use. Visibility was excellent, and for farmers spending 10–12 hours a day in their tractor, the difference was night and day compared to earlier generations. Unfortunately, the brilliance of the 8050 was overshadowed by the financial struggles of Allis-Chalmers itself. By the mid-1980s, the company was battling declining sales and increasing competition, which ultimately led to its downfall in the agricultural sector. The 8050, despite being a dependable and forward-looking tractor, couldn't save the company from its broader troubles. Today, however, vintage tractor enthusiasts and collectors look back at the 8050 with admiration. Many regard it as one of the finest tractors Allis-Chalmers ever built, and those lucky enough to still own one often describe it as a machine that was well ahead of its time. Number 2. Fiat 1300 DT. When you think of tractors from the 1980s, brands like John Deere, Massey Ferguson, or Ford might spring to mind. Yet in Europe, Fiat was quietly producing some of the toughest and most dependable tractors of the decade. Among them, the Fiat 1300 DT stood tall as a machine that earned legendary status among the farmers who used it. The Fiat 1300 DT was powered by a massive 6.6L six-cylinder diesel engine that produced around 130 horsepower, an impressive figure for its era. This made it a true workhorse capable of handling demanding agricultural tasks such as plowing heavy soils, pulling large implements, and transporting heavy loads. For farmers in Europe dealing with rugged terrain and tough conditions, this kind of raw power and reliability was invaluable. Durability was one of the tractor's defining traits. Farmers often referred to the 1300 DT as unbreakable, and for good reason. It was built with a simple, rugged mechanical design that minimized failure points and made maintenance straightforward. The hydraulics were powerful and dependable, allowing it to run a wide variety of equipment with ease. If something did go wrong, its uncomplicated layout meant that farmers or local mechanics could usually fix it without specialized tools or costly downtime. Another important aspect of the Fiat 1300 DT was its global influence. Although it wasn't a household name in North America, it gained massive popularity across Europe and even in parts of the Middle East and South America. Fiat's tractors during this time period established a reputation for ruggedness in harsh environments, laying the groundwork for Fiat's acquisition of International Harvester's agricultural division. That move created Case IH, and many of the engineering philosophies that made the Fiat 1300 DT reliable carried over into later Case IH machines. The Fiat 1300 DT might not be as celebrated today as its American contemporaries, but in its time it was one of the toughest, most reliable tractors on the market. Farmers who owned one often kept it in service for decades, and even now, some are still at work on fields across Europe, a testament to their enduring quality. Number 3. Massey Ferguson 399. The Massey Ferguson 300 series, introduced in the 1980s, is sometimes overlooked in the grand history of tractors, but it was a line that quietly became indispensable to farmers around the world. At the top of that lineup was the Massey Ferguson 399, a model that combined power, simplicity, and global adaptability into a package that made it a true unsung hero of the decade. The MF399 was equipped with a Perkins A6.354 six-cylinder diesel engine, producing around 97 horsepower. While this might not sound like much compared to the high-horsepower giants of the 1980s, the MF399 was designed with versatility in mind rather than brute strength. Its horsepower was perfectly suited for a wide range of farm duties, from plowing and planting to powering implements and even handling transport work. The tractor came with 2 transmission options: the synchro transmission for straightforward gear changes, or the multi-power transmission, which gave operators the ability to shift under load without using the clutch. This flexibility was especially appreciated by farmers working with varying terrain or switching frequently between tasks. Where the MF399 really shone was in its balance of simplicity and reliability. Massey Ferguson designed it as a tractor that could thrive in almost any farming environment. In North America, it was useful for mid-sized operations. In Europe, it fit perfectly on smaller, more intensive farms. And in regions like Africa, Asia, and South America, the MF399 became a lifeline, providing farmers with a machine that could run day in and day out with minimal maintenance and without access to sophisticated repair facilities. The tractor's global adaptability was enhanced by its fuel efficiency and ease of repair. Its Perkins engine was not only durable but also forgiving, able to run on lower quality fuel in areas where premium diesel wasn't always available. Spare parts were widely accessible, and its straightforward design meant that even basic mechanics could keep it running with limited resources. Despite its worldwide impact, the MF399 rarely gets mentioned today when people talk about iconic tractors. Flashier, more powerful models often steal the spotlight. Yet for the farmers who depended on it, the MF399 was one of the most reliable companions of the 90s. Even decades later, many of these machines are still hard at work, proving just how well built they were. Number 4. Deutz DX160. In the world of tractor design, the 1980s were a time of experimentation and refinement. German manufacturer Deutz stood out during this era for its unique engineering philosophy, and the DX160 embodied that perfectly. Produced between 1980 and 1983, it was among the most powerful tractors in the Deutz lineup and represented a bold approach to agricultural machinery. The DX160 was powered by a 6-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine producing about 160 horsepower, which made it a formidable option for large-scale farming. But what really set it apart from its competitors was Deutz's insistence on sticking with air-cooled engines, a hallmark of the brand. While nearly every other major manufacturer had switched to water-cooled systems by this time, Deutz maintained that air-cooled engines were more reliable and required less maintenance. This design proved especially valuable for farmers working in hot, dry climates. Water-cooled engines could overheat if not maintained perfectly, but the air-cooled system of the DX160 shrugged off high temperatures and required fewer components like radiators, pumps, or coolant systems that could fail. For farmers in southern Europe, Australia, and parts of Africa, this was a huge advantage. The DX series also set a new standard for operator comfort and style. The DX160 came with a spacious cab that emphasized visibility, quietness, and ergonomics, a forward-thinking move in the early 1980s. The angular, futuristic styling of the DX tractors made them stand out visually from the more boxy and utilitarian designs of their competitors. Despite these innovations, the DX160 didn't achieve the widespread fame of John Deere or Massey Ferguson tractors of the time. Deutz had a stronger presence in Europe than in North America, which limited its exposure. However, for those who used it, The DX160 was a tough, reliable, and advanced machine that represented the cutting edge of German tractor engineering. Number 5. Ford TW35. By the early 1980s, Ford was determined to prove itself as a serious competitor in the high-horsepower tractor market. The TW series was their answer, and the TW35, introduced in 1983, was the most powerful and impressive model of the line. Under the hood, the TW35 housed a 6-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine producing around 190 horsepower, making it one of the strongest tractors Ford had ever built up to that point. This kind of power made it an ideal machine for heavy-duty tasks like deep plowing, cultivating vast fields, and pulling large implements. Exactly what large-scale farmers needed in the 1980s as equipment sizes continued to grow. One of the TW35's biggest selling points was its sheer pulling power combined with reliability. It featured a full power-shift transmission that gave operators smooth control over such a powerful engine, and its hydraulics were designed to handle the toughest demands of modern implements. In practice, this meant farmers could trust it for endless hours of hard labor without fear of breakdowns. The cab design was another step forward. While not as refined as luxury-level tractors of later decades, the TW35 offered operators better comfort, reduced noise, and good visibility compared to Ford's earlier offerings. Unfortunately, the timing of its release meant that the TW35's legacy was somewhat cut short. In 1991, Ford sold its agricultural division to Fiat, which rebranded and integrated Ford tractors into what eventually became New Holland. This transition pushed the TW35 into the background, leaving it overshadowed by the newer models that followed. Nevertheless, many TW35s are still working fields today, a testament to their rugged design and durability. For farmers of the 1980s, this tractor was a workhorse that could stand proudly beside the biggest names in the industry. Number 6. Case IH 1896. The mid-1980s were a period of transformation in the tractor industry. The merger of Case and International Harvester in 1985 created Case IH, a brand that sought to combine the best technologies and reputations of both companies. Out of this union came a series of tractors that quietly gained loyal followings, and the Case IH 1896 was among the standouts. The 1896 wasn't the largest or most powerful tractor on the market. Its engine produced about 120 horsepower, but it struck a sweet spot for versatility. Farmers needed dependable mid-sized tractors that could handle everything from tillage to planting, haymaking, and utility work. The 1896 fit this role perfectly. It was powered by the proven Case 504 diesel engine, a workhorse known for reliability and longevity. Farmers appreciated that it was easy to maintain and built with durability in mind. The tractor was available in both 2WD and 4WD versions, giving farmers flexibility depending on their land and workload. Where the 1896 excelled was in its balance of ruggedness and operator comfort. Case IH ensured that the cab was designed with modern conveniences, such as ergonomic controls, good visibility, and a quieter ride than earlier tractors. For farmers spending long days in the fields, these upgrades made a real difference. Though overshadowed by the more powerful and iconic Case IH Magnum series introduced in 1987, the 1896 quietly earned a reputation as a dependable machine that could do it all. Farmers who owned one often kept them in operation for decades because of their low maintenance needs and solid performance. The Case IH 1896 may not appear on many famous tractor lists, but for those who used it in the 1980s, it was nothing short of a reliable partner that always got the job done. Number 7. 155.54. When people hear the name Renault, they often think of cars. But in Europe, the company also had a strong presence in agriculture during the 1980s. The Renault 155.4 was one of their most impressive tractors of the decade, yet it remains largely forgotten outside of European farming circles. The 55.4 was equipped with a robust MWM 6-cylinder diesel engine that produced about 150 horsepower, placing it in the higher horsepower category for the time. This made it a serious option for farmers needing a versatile machine capable of tackling both heavy tillage and a wide variety of secondary field tasks. One of its key strengths was fuel efficiency. At a time when rising fuel costs were a concern, Renault tractors gained a reputation for squeezing the most work out of every drop of diesel. Farmers appreciated that the 155.54 could deliver reliable power without draining their wallets. The cab design was also ahead of its time. Renault focused on creating an operator-friendly experience with excellent visibility, logical control placement, and improved comfort compared to earlier models. This emphasis on ergonomics helped reduce operator fatigue, a growing concern for farmers spending increasingly long hours in the tractor seat. The 155.44 also introduced more advanced hydraulics and power takeoff PTO systems, allowing it to handle a broad range of implements with ease. This versatility meant that a single tractor could take on many roles, reducing the need for multiple specialized machines. Although Renault tractors never gained the same recognition in North America as brands like John Deere or Ford, in Europe, 155.54 earned respect as a durable, fuel-efficient, and versatile workhorse. Its relative obscurity today is less a reflection of its quality and more the result of Renault eventually exiting the tractor market, later selling its agricultural division to Claas. For farmers of the 1980s who owned one, the Renault 155.54 wasn't just a tractor. It was a reliable partner in the fields, and one that deserves to be remembered alongside the decade's best machines. Number 8. 045. The 1980s were not only about tractors from American, German, or British manufacturers. Eastern Europe had its own champions, and Zetor was one of the most respected names in that part of the world. Among its lineup, the Zetor Crystal 12045 stood out as a tough and reliable machine that offered serious performance at a fraction of the cost of its Western competitors. Equipped with a 6-cylinder diesel engine producing around 120 horsepower, the Crystal 12045 wasn't the most powerful tractor on the global stage, but it was exactly what many farmers needed: reliable, durable, and simple to maintain. Zetor had built its reputation on straightforward engineering, avoiding unnecessary complexity in favor of designs that were easy to repair and keep running, even in regions where access to advanced tools or spare parts was limited. That rugged simplicity was what made the 12045 particularly popular across Eastern Europe and even parts of the Soviet Union. Farms in these areas often lacked modern repair facilities, so a tractor that could be maintained with basic tools was a huge advantage. Farmers frequently praised Zetor tractors for being farmer-friendly machines that could be fixed in the field without specialized technicians. The cab design of the Crystal 1205 was also worth mentioning. Zetor invested in making it modern for the time, offering good visibility, decent noise reduction, and greater comfort than many competing tractors in its price bracket. For farmers who were used to bare-bones designs, this made long days in the field far more tolerable. While the Zetor brand never achieved mainstream recognition in North America, the Crystal 12045 became something of a legend in Europe. It proved that tractors didn't need to be overly expensive or complicated to be brilliant. Instead, Zetor showed that good engineering, durability, and cost-effectiveness could be just as valuable. Even today, many Zetor Crystal tractors from the 1980s can still be found in use on smaller farms throughout Central and Eastern Europe, a testament to their resilience and timeless practicality. Number 9. Same Explorer 290. Italy might be better known for fast cars and stylish design, but the country also produced some truly innovative tractors in the 1980s, thanks to manufacturers like Same, Società Accomandita, Motori Endotermici. Among their most clever creations was the Explorer 290, a tractor that may not have been the biggest or most powerful of its time, but earned a reputation for versatility and forward-thinking design. With around 90 horsepower, the Explorer 290 sat comfortably in the medium power category, making it ideal for mixed farms that needed one machine to do a little bit of everything. It was compact, lightweight, and fuel-efficient, which immediately made it appealing to farmers working in regions with difficult terrain. Unlike the massive tractors designed for vast North American fields, the Explorer 290 was built for versatility in Europe's smaller, more varied landscapes. One of SAME's biggest innovations was its early adoption of four-wheel drive systems. While many competitors still relied on 2WD as standard, SAME embraced 4WD as a way to give its tractors more traction and stability. On the Explorer 290, this drivetrain technology provided excellent maneuverability and grip, making it particularly useful for farms on hilly or uneven ground where traditional tractors might struggle. The tractor's lightweight design further enhanced its adaptability. It was strong enough for tillage and field work, but nimble enough for use in vineyards, orchards, or mountainous terrain, places where larger, heavier tractors simply couldn't operate effectively. Farmers appreciated that the Explorer 290 didn't tear up the soil as much as bulkier tractors, a feature that aligned well with the growing focus on soil conservation in the 1980s. Although SAME never became as globally famous as John Deere, Massey Ferguson, or Ford, the Explorer 290 left its mark as one of the smartest tractors of its decade. It combined efficiency, innovation, and adaptability in a way that was ahead of its time, and those who used one often look back on it as one of the most underrated gems of the 1980s tractor market. Number 10. International Harvester 5088. Few tractor manufacturers have a history as storied as International Harvester IH, but the early 1980s were a turbulent period for the company. Despite its financial difficulties, IH managed to release some outstanding tractors during this time, and the 5088, part of the 50 series introduced in 1981, is one of the best examples. The 5088 was powered by the DT436 turbocharged diesel engine, producing about 135 horsepower. Positioned as a dependable mid-sized tractor, it was designed to appeal to farmers who needed a machine strong enough for tillage and field work, but still versatile enough for planting, transport, and general farm duties. What truly made the 5088 stand out was its ProAg transmission system, which offered an impressive 18 forward and 9 reverse speeds. This was a big deal in the early 1980s, when many competitors were still offering fewer gearing options. The advanced transmission gave farmers far greater flexibility in managing speed and power, making the tractor smoother to operate and more efficient in the field. I also made big strides in operator comfort and ergonomics with the 5088. The cab was much improved compared to earlier models, offering better visibility, reduced noise, and more intuitive controls. For farmers spending long hours behind the wheel, this made the 5088 far less fatiguing to use than its predecessors. Sadly, the 5088 was a victim of bad timing. The farm crisis of the 1980s hit IH hard, and the company's financial troubles overshadowed the successes of its tractors. In 1985, just a few years after the 5088's release, IH was forced to sell its agricultural division to Tenneco, which merged it with Case to form Case IH. As a result, the 5088 never got the long-term recognition it deserved. Still, for those who owned one, the 5088 was regarded as a reliable, efficient, and forward-looking machine. Many are still in operation today, continuing to prove that even in IH's final years as an independent company, it was capable of building brilliant tractors that could stand the test of time. And there you have it. The unsung heroes of the 1980s tractor world. They may not have the same fame as John Deere or Ford classics, but these machines prove that innovation doesn't always get the spotlight it deserves. Which one impressed you the most, and do you think any of them deserve a comeback today? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more vintage tractor history, and join us as we dig up more hidden legends of the past. Until next time, keep your engines running strong.